Hello and welcome to Take It to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I am your host, JP John Paz. Of course, joining me, star of the show, the former WWF World Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm always doing great today. Thank you very much for asking.
What's going on in the world of the JPWA? I'm surprised there
Uh,
was no fireworks. You guys are actually working.
no. The guys got to see fireworks last night. We didn't let them off. Our first day was Monday. Our second day was today, and everybody got to go see some fireworks at World's Fair Park. We got four people from Great Britain. We have one from France, a couple from Tennessee, and surrounding states.
Wow, damn, that's
Yeah,
pretty amazing there. Pretty
that's
eclectic.
well, you call it what you want. I call it people from other countries.
But I'm glad they did get to see the 4th of July fireworks. I'm glad.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, they came over and they all thought about, they all asked, are we going to be working on July 4th? And originally I was going to do it, but then I said, no. You guys go see the fireworks. That was it.
Ibsen, hello Ibsen. Hello Jason. Hello
Gibson,
Jason.
Jason, yeah, everybody's checking in, it looks like.
Charlie, good evening, gentlemen. Hello, happy holiday.
Always enjoy the holidays.
Greetings from Atlantic City.
Atlantic City must be rocking right now, huh?
Oh yeah. From Barbara, aka Babs. Change it up a little bit there. Hi, Dr. Tom.
That's
Great to
all
see
right,
you.
bro.
Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. We're late too.
You had an eventful 4th of July. That is good. Yes.
Yeah, it's very good. It's excellent.
Yes. But as far as this episode, we have some sad news, of course, to report. He passed away a few days ago. But of course, Darren Drozdov, aka Droz, recently has passed away. Interestingly enough, didn't you say a few weeks ago he had called you after Dark Side of the Ring or something? Didn't he call you? You guys were talking?
Called right after we got done with the podcast. We signed off, and my phone rang, and I said, "Man, it's Droz." So yeah, we talked. Sounded great. Said he felt great. Everything was great. So then it was 2 weeks later that found out he passed, and I'm going to his celebration of life on July 4th, 16th. Yeah, July 16th coming up. And yeah, it's a little sad. I've known Darren since he started, and he was well liked by everybody. Great guy. He adapted well. He fit in. He fit in. If nowhere else, he fit in the locker room, WWE locker room. Great guy.
What was he calling you about? Just that he saw Dark Side of the Ring, wanted to catch
Yeah,
up?
yeah. He had seen the Chris and Tammy segment, and he Jack from Houston Wrestling Mission, Paul Bosch days.
Hello, Jack.
Um, yeah, he saw the Dark Side of the Ring episode. Wanted to say hello, hadn't talked to me in a while, and I told him I called him. Gosh, it had been years now, and his caretaker said when I asked for Darren, he said, "Yeah, just a minute," and then he hung up. So I called back, and nobody ever answered again. So I thought, well, I don't know what's going on, so I just kind of let it be.
Right.
So uh, we talked about it a little bit, and then couldn't find out. You never know. It's like Jimmy Del Rey. Saw Jimmy in August. He was gone by December. So you just don't know.
Man, crazy. Especially since you literally just talked to him. Just absolutely crazy there. Obviously, only 54 years old as well.
Well, yeah, that's the hard part, man. He always had a great attitude when he was training. He had a great attitude when he was on the road. When the accident happened, he was I mean, it's easy to get down, and people get down all the time, but I never heard him get down. And he always had a laugh, always had something to laugh about and be positive about. So it's a shame in a lot of ways. But I mean, I'm glad he's finally going to be at peace and finally won't have to go through all the hassle of living like he did for the past few years.
But it's great to see you guys kept in touch all those years because obviously you trained him. You're the one that kind of ushered him into the business.
Well, I did. And he's like everybody else. He was very enthusiastic. But what helped Darren was his attitude, and he knew what wrestling was. He when he got hooked up with Hawk and Hannibal, I mean, those two guys were looking after him too, and I think he was glad to be involved with the Road Warriors. And I forget who said it today, but somebody asked a question. Might have been on Cornette's podcast. I don't listen to a few today. They asked if there was anybody who could be added to the Road Warriors and it wouldn't seem out of place. And the answer that was given was no, there wasn't. But I think Droz was the closest it came for the Warriors' acceptance, and it's crazy that all three of those guys are gone now.
Oh man, nuts! That was different though. The LOD 2000, they played off the issues with Hawk a little too much. That was a little too personal. And Droz, they made him the drug pusher. But I mean, it was a cool look. Obviously, he did kind of fit in with them. But what a weird storyline they ran. They kind of buried Hawk and Hannibal a little bit.
Well, it was a different time in the '90s anyway. Though I mean, things were swinging one way or the other, and they didn't know which way they were going to do, which way they were going to go.
Charles wants to know, did the company keep him employed, take care of him? Did he sign a Legends deal, or did they make action figures for him?
Well, they did make action figures of Droz, but also the company did take care of him after the accident all the way up until he passed.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. So they were always making sure they took care of him.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very nice. And it's not something that Vince or WWE always likes to talk about. They don't advertise a lot of things they do. But that was one thing they did. I know that.
Good evening, Phil. Will now move freely for eternity. Yes, I agree. Phil. Charles wants to know as well. I assume he did mountains of cocaine, ? Hanging out with Hawk.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't think. I never saw him do mountains of cocaine. But everybody assumes they know, and in reality, unless you're there, you really can't say it happened.
Right.
So yep. I have no idea.
For those who want to join Ibsen and Dr. Tom for the celebration of life for Droz, it will be at the Lakeside Manor, 753 Park Road, Mays Landing, New Jersey, 08330 from 1 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, July 16th.
So that is open to the public, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. But, yeah, I'll be flying in. I have a seminar in Memphis Saturday, and I'll be flying in the next day to New Jersey.
Nice. How did they come up with the Puke gimmick that Droz initially?
That was actually something Droz did in football. Yeah, in the Broncos. We watched it, as a matter of fact. He was on the was he? I think he was on defense.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and he puked on the guy in front of him, and it just went, oh man! So it became his gimmick, and apparently he could puke on command, and that's how Vince is into stuff like that, puke and poop and all that stuff. So.
Yeah.
I can puke on command. Oh, that's great, pal. We'll make you a star.
And it was on Monday Night Football too, so like everybody saw it. Like, what the hell? Yep.
Well, and that's the thing. Not only could he puke on command, but he did have a great personality. He was one of those guys that you want to be around, and and hear him talk and tell you stories and make you laugh. And that's what he did. And I'll tell you, when we both lived in Stanford for a while, uh, we had a good time. I mean, after we trained in the gym together, he was one guy that I could go to the gym with and train. I didn't train with a lot of the people that I trained because I needed to keep that separate. But Droz was different in the sense that he understood boundaries. He understood when I was in my moods. He understood when I didn't really want to talk about something, or when we were going to eat, we would leave business alone and not worry about anything for a while. So he was a unique guy and a great guy.
If you remember Beyond the Mat, Vince was like obsessed with the puking. So he gets remember he gets the garbage pail and Vince goes, he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. And it's in Vince's office and he just pukes. Yeah. And like Vince was like loving it. So Charlie is saying Droz seemed genuinely happy to tell his mom he got that wrestling deal, of course, from Beyond the Mat.
Yeah, and he was genuinely happy. He was genuinely happy. He was finding out that the wrestling business was full of a lot of unique characters and people not necessarily just like him, but pretty similar. And you had some guys who were like Droz, who was just easygoing and wanted to have fun and enjoy himself. And he was doing that. He was in the process of doing that.
What was this question here? Scorch had something. Oh, here we go. From Scorch, thinking about Droz's wife, Shelby. She left him for quote-unquote able-bodied Shannon Moore. That makes me furious. Shelby and Darren were high school sweethearts.
I don't know that Shelby was her name that left for Shannon Moore. That's Terry and... Oh, I can't remember her name now. But I don't think it was Shelby, and they weren't high school sweethearts. You met her through wrestling.
Oh,
she was a seamstress at one time, and I don't. Julie, yes, okay, yeah, not Shelby.
I think he's confusing somebody. Yeah,
somebody, yeah. They weren't high school sweethearts.
Julian Droz, yeah, but she divorced him in the mid 2000s or whatever it was. But they were married. I guess it was prior to the injury.
Either prior to or shortly thereafter. One or the other.
Doesn't look good though. You're leaving a guy like that high and dry.
No, it wasn't a good look at all for her for a lot of reasons.
Barbara met him years ago at the Ramada Inn outside O'Hare Airport in Chicago. I asked Albert if he could please ask him for an autograph. He called us over and signed. He was very kind, very sad loss.
Yeah. He was signing anything for anybody. He was one of us. He understood, and he was a great guy. Yeah, it is kind of sad. But at the same time, I'm glad he's not suffering anymore, and hopefully he's at peace.
Vince isn't above ripping a leg off of a disabled kid. Did he ever consider using Droz in an angle?
He did use Droz in an angle. Hawk. He climbed up. No,
he means after he got hurt.
Oh, no. Droz was
kind of crossing the line there, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a little different.
Del Mountain in 2002, Ultimate Warrior went on a tirade against WWE, and he referred to Droz as a quote-unquote cripple. I can see why so many people dislike the Ultimate Warrior. Wow, damn.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know which tirade she's talking about or he's talking about, but there were a lot of reasons not to like the Warrior, and there were some reasons I'm sure people will tell you to like him, but for the most part, Warrior was out for Warrior.
Yeah, I don't remember him saying that about Droz, but
I don't either.
That's pretty bad if he did say it. Jesus.
Yeah.
When you originally got Droz like in and were training him, were you thinking like, uh oh, because you've been through this before with when you were coming up, like all these football players, they think they're going to come in and they think they're going to get this and they think they're going to get that. Did you have a preconceived notion of Droz, and did he kind of change? Like, because he was much different than those other football players that didn't make it in certain places.
Well, Droz was different in the sense that when I meet somebody for the first time, I usually take a step back in my head and just see how they react to the environment they find themselves. And Droz wasn't intimidated, but he wasn't cocky by any stretch of the imagination. And he fit in almost immediately. I could tell that he was one of us. He liked to laugh, and be crazy and do crazy things. And at the same time, he was sincere. He was genuine, and he wasn't a bully. He wasn't a guy who knocked people or talked bad about people for any reason whatsoever. He seemed like a very loyal guy, and that's a trait that back in the old days, let me say, you had a code, and you lived by that code. And Droz had a code. He give you an opportunity, and he either liked you or he didn't. But he wasn't gonna waste his time with people he didn't want to waste his time with. So he was meant to be in the wrestling business, if nothing else. He really was.
For sure. Was there any hard feelings with D'Lo Brown for the injury? Do you teach young wrestlers how serious injuries can be avoided? Thanks.
Well, Barb, no, there were no hard feelings towards D'Lo. He understood things like this happen, but the best way I teach young wrestlers how serious injuries can be avoided is to take a proper bump. The thing that happened with D'Lo and Droz was something that could happen to anybody, anytime, and it was proven. Droz, I think, hadn't been in the business 2 years yet, and it was just one of those things where something was off, and it was an accident. It wasn't meant to happen, and it was horrible. I was there that night, and I try to teach guys you want to go to all extremes to land properly and take a proper bump and take care of yourself, take care of the guy you're wrestling. So that's what I tell people, and that's. But then again, on any given night, I think this is something I did here on Cornette's podcast earlier today. Is he talks about a lot of the guys on the independents, do all these crazy things, and we talk about someone who's going to break their neck or get seriously hurt. Well, here were two guys. Here was D'Lo Brown, who's a hell of a worker, hell of a pro, been around for years. I worked with D'Lo many, many times, never got hurt. It just happened to be on that night, something was off. Timing, feeling, execution, whatever it was, something was off. And through no fault of anybody, it's just that was the way the stars were aligned that night. D'Lo had done the move many, many times, and on this night, it just went wrong.
Was Droz the worst in-ring accident you can remember? Obviously, Owen Hart excluded.
Yes, definitely, because we knew, or we thought, we didn't know. We thought when it happened, oh man, this is not good. And then we found out it was not good. It was terrible.
Were you in Gorilla when the accident happened?
Yes. Yes, I was.
What was it? Just pure panic back there?
Well, nobody really knew what was going on yet. And then, and I don't remember, to be honest with you, D'Lo pinned him or not. We just kind of stopped the match. And paramedics went to the ring and brought him out on the stretcher. I think it was Albert who said, he's screwed, and he started crying. I thought, oh no, man, it can't be that bad. So we went to Long Island Hospital, I think it was. And what was the hospital in Long Island down by the? It was close to the arena, whatever it was.
Name. Yeah.
I don't know the name either, but we hung out there until we found out something. And still, the doctors weren't sure how bad it was going to be, I guess. We hung out there for a few hours.
And that was a horrible, not ratings-wise or money-wise, but horrible couple months for WWF in '99 with Owen and Droz. I mean, it's just like, what the hell? One bad thing after another.
No way to explain it.
Yep.
There's no way to even go back and try to even try to explain it.
Dale is back. He says, in 2002, the Ultimate Warrior was spouting off a bunch of hate in response to a dispute with Vince McMahon. Droz had not said anything negative about the Warrior. And I guess the Warrior said what he said. Interesting.
Well, Warrior's not here to defend himself either right now, so but I wouldn't doubt it. He did say some controversial things during his time.
Say the least.
To say the least.
What do you do worst case scenario if that happens in training? Do you have a protocol from the school that you teach?
Well, don't touch the guy. If something happens like that, you have to communicate. So it's up to Darren told the referee, hey, man, I'm hurt. So he did communicate to the referee. And that's the protocol. Communicate. And don't touch him. Leave him alone.
Magazine Retriever. D'Lo Brown attributes the accident largely to the loose-fitting T-shirt that Droz was wearing in that match, yet many wrestlers today continue to wear those shirts.
Well, I never heard D'Lo say that either, but could be. But I don't know. That's all I'll say about that.
What a freak thing, because he's not like an unsafe worker at all. So just a freak
thing.
No,
it was a freak thing. I don't think there's one thing we can look at and say, this is why, because I'm sure they all thought about it. And we all, not they all, we all thought about it. And finally came to the conclusion that it was that freak thing, and whatever was in the air that night was in the air, and it happened. So it was tragic.
This morning, Cornette said on his podcast he genuinely liked the guy, main event push or not. Corny was happy he came to the shows backstage, and he had no bitterness towards the business.
No. Anytime I talked to him or anything I ever heard, he didn't have any bitterness towards the business. He understood that was a freak accident. It wasn't meant to happen. Never blamed D'Lo. He never blamed anybody. So whatever happened, to be bitter is just a waste of time. And I think Droz knew that. I know Droz knew that. He had better values than that. He had a better attitude than that. And I think he had a great family who supported him all these years. I mean, it's got to be tough on them too.
I don't believe his in-ring qualifies for the Hall of Fame, but as someone who gave his body to the business and handled everything, he deserves a spot.
Well, I think everybody believes he deserves a spot. Anybody who met Droz liked him, loved him. He was great to be around, great to have around. And he wasn't in the business long enough really to have a bunch of storylines or body of work that you could look at and say, So maybe not Hall of Fame, but some recognition. Sure, I agree 100%.
D'Lo dispelled the myth that a fan had thrown a cup of Pepsi into the ring that caused him to slip. That never happened.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of things out there that have been said that never really were said or never really happened. that's just when stuff like this happens, you're going to get people out there who start rumors or start sayings, and we never really get down to the truth.
Now, I could only find, I know you probably wrestled him a lot more in training and things like that, but I found a few matches in 98, one in January, one in April. One was in New Hampshire. It was Darren Drozdov, aka Droz, and yourself versus Adam Copeland and Sean Morley. So you guys defeated Edge and
Oh yeah,
Valvenus.
yeah. We bought matching trunks from K&H.
Get
Yeah,
out of here.
no, for real.
Wow, so he was going to be like a tag team partner of yours, or just for the night?
No, just for the night. We
Oh,
bought,
pretty.
he had long ties. I had long ties, matching gear.
Was that the training class? Was Edge, Christian, Valvenus,
Yes,
and Droz?
yes.
Well, that's a
Yes,
pretty
it
good
was.
one.
Yeah, Dory was in our corner. Dory Funk
Nice.
Jr.
Nice. Wrestling in Placetown, and that was in Placetown, New Hampshire. What an interesting venue.
That would be for not Mike Sparta, but Freddie Sparta, I think.
A WWA affiliate there. Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Your buddies, the Sparta Boys. And then again, part of a Shotgun Saturday Night Dark match in Uniondale, New York, which is, of course, Long Island, April 14th, 98. Droz defeated the infamous Dr. X. So you were under a hood and you lost to Droz. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I only remember the ones I win.
Oh, well, you lost this one. But you obviously
Uh,
remembered beating Edge and Valvenus.
of
Nice.
course, we won. We won that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only real match we had.
Do you remember having more matches with Droz?
I may have, but we did work in the studio a lot because I was really the only guy back then, and I was still just coming off the ring. So I would get in the ring with Occam, Droz, Mark Henry, and all those guys who came through. And eventually I kind of weaned myself off that.
Rocky Maivia?
Rocky Maivia, that fella.
Yep.
Yep.
Pre-accident, did you drive with Droz?
Yes, I did drive with Droz a few times.
What was that
nice trips? Nice trips, good trips. When I'm on a road trip, I want to have a fun time, good time, and enjoy ourselves on our way to and from the town. And we did, and go into work, and then come back and make the town or make it home. And that's what it used to be when you're on the road all the time. You want to be around some people that you enjoyed being around. And Droz was always fun. He got it. Droz understood. Life's the work. It's too short. And I think he has demonstrated by his passing now, because at 54 years old, that's still young. And you don't realize it if you're in your 30s or 40s, you think 54, or at least I did. I thought 54 is pretty old. And it is, but it's not, considering.
Yeah, definitely not. Not especially not to pass away 54. Way too young.
No,
Yeah.
way too young.
Did you ever see Droz pull ribs? Did he make people laugh and puke on people's luggage?
Well, no, he was wrestling Mark Henry one time at the studio, and we had gone to eat Indian food, and yeah, there's an Indian restaurant pretty close to the office in Stanford, and someone was asking him if he could puke on command in a match because they hadn't seen it yet. And he said, yeah. So we were going to pull a rib on Mark Henry where he puked on his arm, but Droz couldn't muster up enough puke, I guess. So he was trying, but other than that, he didn't pull too many ribs. I mean, he was just happy to be there too, and he was not a mean-spirited guy by any stretch of the imagination.
Who was the guy trying to get him to pull the rib? Was it Vince?
Well, I can neither deny or confirm who it was.
That sounds like his nutty ass would want him to do that.
I can neither deny or confirm.
Would
whoever.
Mark Henry have flipped out, or like? I mean, he could
We're
have
not
been.
sure. We wanted to see at the time,
Yeah.
but but it never happened. So Mark was cool.
Dr. Tom, to your knowledge, did Droz ever regain even partial mobility in his arms and hands after the accident?
I don't believe he did. I really don't. I think he was that way for the rest of his life.
Kurgan was there in the class as well with Edge and Valvinus. Is that a fact?
Yeah, it is a fact. Kurgan was there.
It's a pretty big class as far as heavyweights there. Everybody's pretty tall, pretty big. A little different business
There's some
back
big
then.
boys. We did.
Yeah. Little different business back then. And back then they loved the NFL, the former NFL players, right? JR loved them, Vince loved them. Like that's you want that kind of athlete.
You want that kind of athlete. You want that kind of mentality because you know your body is your brand, and the more you work out, the better you look, the better you're going to get opportunities. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want elite athletes like that? And Droz certainly, he loved working out. He loved the contact sport. So it was great.
I'm not a genius, but puking on Mark Henry seems like a bad idea,
I'm not,
perhaps.
I'm not saying it was a good idea. I'm just saying it was an idea. And,
Let's see how this guy reacts.
yeah, you know.
Yep.
But you got to understand, this is in the TV studio, and they didn't really like us over there because we would bleed through every time we came over. We would come over usually after lunch, and we'd go sometimes from 1 to 6 or 1 to whatever, or maybe we'd get in there earlier if we had to. We did morning sessions too, but mainly in the afternoon. And a lot of times they would have to stop down for VOs and things like that because they could hear us bumping. But there was nothing they could do because that was our domain where we were supposed to work and wrestle and get these guys ready. So then eventually they had tracks, which was right next door to the studio, but it wasn't connected. It was just a different building where they did Tough Enough. And later on, we got to do some stuff in there with developmental guys.
When you look at that class, I mean, that's a pretty damn good class. Were you getting the old pat on the back? Like, good job with these guys, Dr. Tom.
I don't really remember anybody saying good job with these guys, Dr. Tom.
That's not good. They should have. Damn. Like, give the guy some recognition here. He's being a
Well,
great
that's
trainer.
okay. I mean, they paid me.
But yeah.
That was good enough for me. But I don't remember Vince ever saying, Tom, what you're doing here is just tremendous. No.
Should have. Damn.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Had he not been injured, where do you think his career was headed?
Honest to goodness, I believe he would have had a great career. He was the only thing he was green. He was going to get this because people wanted to help him. He was going to the right people. He was talking to the right people, and the right people liked him. If this wouldn't have happened, I truly believe he would have been a star, and he would have been somebody that, especially in the vein of a LOD, be thought of in that realm of what he'd done in the business or what he could have done.
The class of 1999 that Dr. Tom spoke of was a 4-page spread in the WWF magazine. It was Dr. Tom and his school. Is this a fact?
That I believe that was in with Maven and some other people and Edge and Christian, whoever else was in there. But yeah, I believe it was.
No tribute from Prince Albert yet. Hope he's okay.
Well, I'm sure he's okay. Sometimes, I did. When I heard it, I thought, what do you do? I don't necessarily like putting my stuff on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and stuff like that, because it's not how it's. I don't know how to say it, but it doesn't sound. I don't know what to say,
Hmm.
and I know how I felt. I know what I feel, but that's for me and nobody else. So,
Right.
probably Matt Bloom, probably feels the same way. It's like no matter what I say, it's between me and Darren, and nobody else has to know about it. It's not about them. It's about uh, my feelings and what I went through, what I'm going through. Because Droz is no longer with us, and we know what he meant. We know how he was. So I'm sure Matt is has sent condolences or communicated or done whatever he wanted to do. But
I feel like it's always a slippery slope with the fans. Like, oh, that means he doesn't care. That's what some people think. Because Hogan didn't
yeah,
respond about Iron Sheik right away, and of course he wrote
right,
something eventually. But people were like, oh, was Hogan not like Iron Sheik? It's like, come on, it's
right.
yeah,
Well, but you can't please everybody, so you might as well please yourself.
yep.
That's another reason I can't get into. Dude, once I've had a couple forays into the social media thing, I kind of got turned off from it, man. I don't do the Twitter thing anymore. Just occasionally I do. Occasionally I'll like something or retweet something, but
Mm.
Facebook's the same way. There's just the negativity isn't worth putting a comment out there that somebody's going to take, because somebody, no matter who it is, there's some friggin' asshole out there who's going to turn it all around. I have no time for that. I don't really care.
Eric Tate, hello, Eric Tate.
Hey, Eric Tate.
The puke, excuse me, the puking gimmick would have worked very well with the Cesaro spin.
Probably.
Interesting.
Yeah, it would have been good.
Phil is saying, like Billy Joel said, leave a tender moment alone.
Very nice. Yeah, Billy Joel's become one of my favorites lately.
Did the other agents talk to Droz?
Take the Droz.
Oh, take the Droz. I'm sorry, take the
Yeah,
Droz.
because the other agents, of course, they talk to him. Yeah, the other agents like Droz too, because he was one of those guys that not only was he easy to direct, he understood when you were giving him criticism and knew how to take constructive criticism and would apply what was told and use it later on. So everybody, the agents from Vince on down, everybody loved him. The boys loved him because you're coming into a new business, somebody else's world, and now you're trying to prove yourself. And the boys are going to test everybody. They do it to everybody, and Droz just knew how to take it. He'd been around the pros before. He'd been around big guys and jerks and bullies and stuff like that. And the boys would good naturedly rib everybody who came in.
Right.
And if they didn't, then you might want to think twice about why they didn't. Because if they don't, then they obviously don't think much of you to even give you the time of day. So if they were looking to see how Droz reacted, it's because they want to see if he fit in or not. Then he certainly did.
Droz's look was similar to the Headbangers. Do you think? Do either of you remember Droz tagging the Headbanger?
Did he never tag with the Bangers?
Ooh, that I'm not sure of. I know that they feuded, like LOD, Animal, and Droz feuded with the Headbangers a little bit. I don't remember if they teamed.
Well, that might have been the perfect thing then. Feuding with somebody that looks like him.
Does
I
have
don't
that
remember, but
similar look.
yeah, I don't remember if he tagged with the Headbangers or not.
From Scorch, it said just a few weeks ago we were discussing what Magnum TA might have become in the business. Now we're discussing how far Droz might have gone in the business.
Well, I think every era has those guys that we wonder about. And like Gino Hernandez passed away, I think, at 28, 29 years old. and he had already been a star for 10 years. Um, just to think what would have happened when WWF expanded in 1985, and eventually things would have come back around. They need new talent, and Gino Hernandez, would have been one of those guys who the what if question would come up, because I think Gino had the attitude and star quality that Vince would really like. So it's not just TA, Droz, and guys like that. I mean, it's those are the guys that were riding right close to the edge of the lightning bolt, and got a little too close.
Charlie says, I could be wrong, but wasn't he in the CFL the same time as The Rock and get injured there?
I don't think so. I think he was with the
He was after The Rock,
NFL.
no?
Huh?
No, but he wasn't the CFL, but it was after his NFL career. But I think The Rock was in the WWF when Droz was in CFL.
Oh, maybe so.
Because it
Okay.
was mid 90s, I believe he was training, and then obviously he made his debut at Survivor Series 96. I think Droz was in the CFL after his NFL stint with the Broncos.
Could have been. I really don't know.
But he did get injured there and then made his way over to wrestling, which seems to be a case for a lot of the football players. They injured a knee or whatever, and then wrestling kind of comes along.
Well, and that's where a lot of guys miss the boat, because they don't understand that it's more than just physical. You have to have the personality, and you have to have the attitude.
Droz also had a lot of charisma, which Dr. Tom says you cannot teach.
I agree. You either got it or you don't. And Droz had it. He really did.
Ibsen says, I saw on YouTube pre-accident you were doing commentary for Shotgun Saturday night, and you did several Droz matches. Do you remember that?
Sure. Like they were 30 years ago. No, it had to be 25 years ago. But yeah, I probably did. I don't think I did Shotgun Saturday Night. I think I did Metal or the other syndicated show. One of those syndicated shows. Michael Cole and I did it. Kevin Kelly and I did the other one. At one time, I was doing like international syndication, national syndication shows, and just the ones that were the recaps. We're plugging Raw and SmackDown.
Interesting random question here, and I love it. Have you ever ate lasagna in the bathtub?
Well, I only eat lasagna during the month of October, and usually it's in a cold bath. Yes.
Interesting random question. I love it. For Barbara, was Droz a natural baby face? Such a nice fellow. Very hard to hate him.
I would have to agree with that, because he was a nice guy, and he wanted everybody to be happy. He wasn't a bully. He wasn't an asshole. So it really was against his nature. But if you can pull it off, then it's not a bad deal. And Droz probably could have pulled it off, but at the same time, when you made him, he's that natural, likable person.
I read a report this week that the WWF did actually have a 24/7 caretaker for him, and that was confirmed by his wife. Let's hope that's true, and I think that would be so great for the company to do.
Yeah, well, they did. I mean, they took care of him, and it was the right thing to do, and I believe they knew it. Again, WWE does a lot of things that nobody knows anything about, and they like it that way, because they're, they are people who care about the community for the most part, and want to help.
Yeah,
believe it or not, man, not all assholes.
They pay for all the guys' rehabs.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh, you're not going to like this. You were on commentary with Kevin Kelly. You like that part, but Terry Taylor as well. What?
Why wouldn't I like that?
What? Come on. No, you love him. You love Terry.
Yeah, I have no problem with Terry Taylor.
Uh-oh, the King of Kingsport, Bo James. Do you eat watermelon seeds? Wow, that's pretty random. lasagna in the bathtub, and watermelon seeds. Wow.
I don't eat watermelon seeds because I don't want them to grow inside me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Scorch. A little off topic here, but I heard that Dick Slater and Terry Funk choreographed the final fight scene in Rocky V. Terry Funk was in several movies with Sylvester Stallone. Yes.
Yes, he was. Very true.
Interesting. I never heard that. They choreographed the fight scene between Tommy Morrison, if you will, Tommy Gunn, and Rocky in the streets in Rocky V. Interesting.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they did. It sounds about right because Terry and Sylvester Stallone were pretty good friends. So it would make sense. The story I always heard was the double knockout in Rocky.
Two.
Rocky, the first Rocky 2. Yeah, double knockout was a Terry Funk finish. So that's I always heard that as a rumor. I don't know. I never confirmed it.
Wow, that sounds like a wrestling finish for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great movie. Great ending. Yeah. What manager, doesn't matter what era, would you fit with Droz or would fit with Droz in your opinion?
Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman would certainly know how to make Droz's magic even more magical. Paul would know how to hit his strengths and hide his weaknesses.
Just out of curiosity, did the company take care of the enhancement talent that Marty Jannetty injured? It was with the rocker dropper.
That I'm not sure about. Forget that guy's name too. Chuck Austin. Right?
Yeah.
Just
right, wasn't
remember
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know what happened with that. I think he sued. Maybe he won his lawsuit. But I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to Marty Garner, and remember Triple H spiked him with that pedigree.
Yes.
He never got injured. I always assumed, that he got injured. That was vicious because he actually held his hands and then spiked him. He actually like jumped for it and put his legs straight up instead of putting straight out. He put his legs straight up. So Triple H spiked him. Said wasn't hurt at all by it. So I mean, he got lucky.
See, people like that, it's fools and children that God looks over.
Are you a Marty Gardner fan?
I like Marty. Marty he's Marty. If you know Marty, then you know Marty. Champagne. Sham is for what? And then pain is for something else. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
He was bucked up, wasn't he?
Yeah. Pucked up. Yeah.
Bucked up.
Yep. Did they take care of superstar Billy Graham?
No, Superstar was a different cat.
He was under a Legends deal, though.
Huh? Yeah.
He was under a Legends deal. Yeah.
Right. But I know how those Legends deals work, and it's not unless you're really bringing it in. It's not all that much.
Here's a good question from Dell Fire on the Mountain. Dr. Tom, without mentioning any names, were there any road agents that you disliked intensely when you were an active wrestler? Wow.
No, not really. I like most of the guys, all the guys that were agents. Lanza, Strongbow, Carrillo, Rene Goulet.
I thought you didn't like Rene Goulet. What happened?
I like Rene Goulet.
Oh, all right.
No, I always got along with Goulet.
What about Pat Patterson?
Well, I got along with Pat. I don't know if Pat got along with me, but I got along with Pat.
Interesting. But you liked them all. That's interesting. What about George Animal Steel? Was he ever an agent when you were wrestling?
Yeah, but I never had any problem with George. Never did.
Here's a really good question, Dr. Tom. How can wrestlers get the book that's a #1 bestseller?
Well, Isman, I'm glad you asked. Barbara usually asks that question, but I'm glad you beat her to the punch tonight. Because
and look at that. Look, 2 seconds later, please tell us where we can get the book. New York Times bestseller and a must for any few. Wow, he had just beaten her by a minute. Wow.
Yeah, well, good job. Excuse me. We've had some really nasty days here, man. It's been hot, hazy, and everything. So my voice is about gone. But you can get the book, and you can also find out some more about JPWA's training because this is our third session for 2023. And after this, winter, spring, summer, and fall. We're in the summer session right now. We're in the midst of our first week. And you can find out about the fall session coming up too at jpwrestlingacademy.com. Click the training tab at the top of the page. It'll take you to getting the book and also find out on our next dates for fall. So jpwrestlingacademy.com has all the information about my curriculum as well as the Jacobs Prichard Wrestling Academy.
What about a signed copy of the book?
Well, if you want a signed copy, then just email me at jpwrestlingacademy@gmail.com and say you want a signed copy. They're $25 at PayPal. So if you have a PayPal account, you can send it to at Dr. Tom or Dr. Tom Prichard at AOL.com. I know AOL isn't used a lot by people today, but that's what I've had for a long time, and we just kept it.
And of course, Ibsen had mentioned this before, but for those who want to go to the celebration of life for Droz, it'll be at the Lakeside Manor, 753 Park Road in Mays Landing, New Jersey, 08330 from 1 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, July 16th. Celebration of life for one Mr. Darren Drozdov, a.k.a. Droz, R.I.P. to the one and only Droz.
Yeah, definitely, man. Godspeed, Droz.
Watch many of the JPWA stars every week on YouTube under the Southern States Wrestling channel. Wow, look at Bo James out there. Nice.
Well, Bo's been kind enough to put some of our JPWA guys and gals on his shows, and they've been getting a lot of great experience and ring time, and that's what it takes to get better. You got to get in that ring. You know, you can't talk about it. You can't draw it out. You can't just go for one day and say, hey, I know everything and I'm going to be a wrestler. You got to get in the ring in front of people. You got to go and try things. You got to succeed. You got to fail. You got to do a lot of things. And the only way to do it is in the ring. And Southern States Wrestling is a fine organization that allows our guys to do that.
Is Bo still wrestling? Is he still working?
Bill James is still wrestling. Yes, he is.
Does he wrestle your students? Do you trust him in there with them?
Sure, I trust him in there with them.
Nice. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2manpower. Check the website, tmptempire.com. And you can follow Dr. Tom at Dr. Tom Prichard on Twitter. Dr. Tom, what about your, what do you call it, wrestling figures? Where can everybody get those figures? You
can get my figures at Figures Toy Company. The new line of Legends came out, and Brad Armstrong just got his first figure as well. His wife was happy about that. So I think there's a couple of guys who got their first figures as well. Curtis Hughes got one. I think Savio had a figure before, but Savio is in this new line of Legends of Wrestling as well. So I know there's going to be some surprises coming up, I think, by the end of August, if I'm not mistaken, with the figures. There's maybe something about Heavenly Bodies involved there.
With Sweet Stan.
Yep. Yeah, with Sweet Stan. So
and Cornette.
Hopefully. We'll see how that pans out. And as soon as it does, I will let you know.
Please, no more wrestlers dying over the next few months. Don't like these memorial episodes.
Yeah, me either, man. It's kind of one of those things. Whenever you got to go, you got to go.
Did they make the Body Donuts figure? That's a good question.
No, they did not do that. Don't ask me why, but I think the reason was they don't think they'd sell. So
former WWF Tag Team Champions, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
So, yeah.
I think it'd sell. Anything else going on in your world?
JPWA, that's it, man. We're working hard, and summer's going to be a hot one, but I can't wait.
Oh, big charity show for the NWA coming up. Cares for Cooper.
Yes,
Chicago,
yes, yes.
Highland
Thank
Park,
you,
7,
thank you,
8.
thank you. That's this
Yes,
Saturday. I'm leaving Friday for Chicago. So yeah, you're right. Totally forgot, man. It's been yeah. Well, we all have excuses, but yeah, very true. This Saturday night.
have a great week. So good to see you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. See you right back here next week for a little Taking to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.